Hello friends, welcome to UK Dreamers. This is Aman, and in today's video we'll see what happens if someone says to you that they are going to report you to the GMC. So this is a very common scenario. If you've not heard it in your clinical practice yet, be assured you will hear it at some point of time. So, as you know, international medical graduates, as you're on visa, we're new to the system. If someone says these deadly phrases that they would report you to the GMC, you know, all hell freezes over because then you panic and you think, oh man, what's happening? Is it really that bad? What am I gonna do? How it's going to be sorted and whatnot? So there would be n number of questions in your head. You would be in stress, tensed, and whatnot. But trust me, this will happen to you if it hasn't happened so far, because it has happened to me in the span of 2.5 years many times. So there are two broad scenarios when we talk about such sort of unpleasant conversation or unpleasant exposure. So the first one is when you're in your clinical practice, that is in the hospital, in the GP surgeries. And the second one is when you're in the outside world, outside hospital, because this can happen outside as well. So let's talk about the first scenario. So you're in the hospital. So for instance, I'll tell you my own personal experience basically. So I was a newbie doctor, you may say, a month and a half old in the NHS. So I saw this 17-year-old patient who came in. Basically, she had some vomit, and it was termed out that she had some hematemesis. So they were brought in, the bloods and everything were done. So usually there was a wait hour. So by the time I had seen the patient, the symptoms had settled, her bloods were absolutely fine, and everything was looking okay. But she was 17. So in the UK, people can opt that they want to be seen by a adult consultant rather being a pediatric consultant if they're 16 onwards, I believe. So this was 17 on the verge, basically. Okay, so I see and I discussed things with her because her mom had gone home after dropping her off. So, I told her that everything's fine and think these are things you need to do, and we'll see how things go from here. And I did make a few appointments and as such. I think roughly an hour later, one of the nurses keep running for me. The nurse in charge actually finds me out and says, "You discharged this patient?" I said, "Yeah, I discharged a couple of hours ago." And she's like, "Yeah, the mom's on the phone. Can you have a come and have a chat with her?" So I go randomly, and the first thing, once I pick up the receiver, she's like, "Who the hell do you think you are?" And I'm like, oh, okay, something's happening. So then I'm trying to just speak. She didn't allow me to speak. So she bombarded me for roughly 2 to 3 minutes time, constant using swearing, whatnot, basically. And the end point was, I'm going to sue you and I'm going to report you to the medical council. If I were a fairly young doctor without any gray hairs, without any clinical experience, I would have said, yeah, what's happening? I was terrified. I won't lie to you, but it wasn't something that I have never been spoken to when I was working in India. You get a number of people saying that back home as well, but this is a different system. So what I did was I kept on listening, though I'm not that patient, but I kept on listening and listening and listening. So the conversation lasted for roughly about 10 minutes. In the end, I did tell her, okay, if you were not satisfied with the way she was treated or discharged home, I'm happy to see her again. I'll book her appointment in the A&E itself. You can directly come through the doors. You need not wait again. And I'll see and we can have a discussion over this. To which finally she calmed down. So after this, I went to the consultant and he's like, "Yeah, you've discharged it. You should take ownership and sort." But it was thoroughly discussed with the consultant as well. And now I went to the nurse in charge and she was like, "Yeah, so we don't have a space. Where do you want to examine her?" So I did manage getting her back, getting her seen, having a chat with the mom, and actually sorting her with actually a registrar of mine that time. Was this encounter a pleasant one? No. Was it something that I had done extremely wrong? No. What went wrong? Nothing. The expectations didn't get met. And of course, like as a mother, someone has concern, you address it, as simple as that. So what were the take home points for me here was, if the next time this happens, make sure that I've documented things well, which, I came to know later that I should have documented that 10-minute conversation with the mother as well, which I didn't that time. So I did converse and write down the things that we had face to face, but I did not write this unpleasant encounter where I was practically threatened, saying that, you'll be sued, and they're gonna report it to the GMC. So what can you do if you face such scenarios and tough circumstances? Most of the foreign medical graduates might would have heard something about indemnity insurance. So as working for the NHS, you are already covered by the indemnity of the hospital provider, so they would cover you up. But what recommendation is for you, for like for instance, god forbid, if something bad has actually happened, and things have pointed at you that if you would have done this, things would have been better. So yes, the things can proceed and you might go into trial with the GMC and all. In such cases, you do need a legal representation, a legal advice. Best per point is to have indemnity insurance. So if you search Google medical indemnity insurance, you'll find n number of provider, MDU, MPS, MDDUS, and lot many have come into the market now. The but whole sole concept of these bodies is, these are the medical defense organizations. So basically they would have people who've got ample legal experience in medical legal aspects. They would have a team of solicitors and the lawyers who would be able to formulate something to you in a better way. So this was of course a clinical setting. So if I would have had that insurance that time, I would have definitely called them, but I did not have because I was new to the system. Now I do. So my recommendation to you guys is, if you've started working in the NHS, please get a indemnity insurance. It doesn't cost much. If you're working at a SHO level, it's going to cost you about 120, 125 pounds annum. If you're working as a registrar, as a specialty doctor, yes, it's expensive. It's about 600 pounds an annum. But trust me, every penny is worth, because at any point of time, if you're stuck with anything, if you don't know what to do, you have someone to ring, and they are going to guide you which would be correct and accurate. You would have people in the organizations who would be doing this, but if you were stuck at some point in a weekend and you can't get hold of that person who might help you in the organization, there is always a backup. Please go for the indemnity insurance. Other way could be like, people may say that go call the BMA and have a chat with them. You can basically, but indemnity insurance is something that would be more helpful. And yes, if you want to get a refund back, you need to apply for the HMRC refund, which I have told in my videos before. Please have a look. So in all, take home message, please have indemnity insurance. If you haven't bought it today, please get it straightforward once you've seen this video. So hospital scenarios, clinical scenarios will keep on happening. No one can stop them. But there's something that people now have started taking advantage of, is something that you can be harassed outside the hospital world, outside your protected world, saying that they're going to report you to the GMC. So I'm going to tell you an example of my friends. So my friends were renting a place. So basically the children had scribbled walls, and they had taken the place through a estate agency basically. So what happened was, like, though your deposit is with the estate agent, so they would give you the deposit back, subtracting whatever the cost and expenses and whatnot. So since in this case there was some damage to the walls, and so usually everyone tries to rip you off. That's a basic concept, isn't it? So what happened is, like, these guys were approached by the agency saying that you need to pay this much amount. So initially my friends were willing to pay. Say for instance, I think their deposited was 600 something pounds or so. So they said, yeah, we can pay you this much. So they offered, I think, 350 or 400 for basic. But the landlord was a bit cocky, and then they said, like, they would report to the GMC if this was not done. So guys, this is nowhere related of you being a medical practitioner and someone randomly popping out and say, oh, I'm going to report to the GMC. The reason they take advantage of the word GMC is because the moment we hear it, we are like, okay man, screw it, whatever he's asking, just give it to them. Let's scrap this off, let's not take stress, because I don't want this to be reported to the GMC, I don't want to lose my registration. Guys, GMC is a clinical body. It makes decisions for the patients, for the benefit of patients. And yes, here no patient is involved. You have not actually treated anyone. And this has happened because you were actually renting a property with the own pre-set of rules and regulations, and everything has been followed. And, they should go and abide the law as per the tenancy agreements. But, as I said, people can be opportunistic and they would just, randomly bring the GMC out so that they can shell extra money out of you. If this happens, for instance, I would still say don't panic. As I said, the indemnity provider, though they are responsible for the clinical aspects, they can also give you the opinions on non-clinical aspects. So you can ring them and say, I've been, something is like this is happening. Can you guide me through? They would guide you through. You can ring BMA. They can guide you through. So basically, if something like this happens, don't panic. Don't push the alarm button and say, oh, take all my money, please go, and don't go to the GMC. For instance, if you're driving outside, if someone scratches your car, like for instance, most of us, we would wear the scrubs and go home, like to the hospital. If that happens and they say, oh, he's a doctor, they would say, oh, pay me this much, or I'm going to report it to the GMC. Because now the people have started to know that yes, things can be reported to the GMC. This is a common threat which is being issued to all of us. However, it doesn't carry much weight. I would say few can get reported for no bizarre reason. But yeah, for you to be protected yourself, make sure that you don't escalate the confrontation. Whatever they're trying, the moment they say GMC, you don't say, oh, please, please, please. Don't try to show your weakness. You want to report it to GMC? Please go ahead. I'll have a chat with my legal representation and you would hear from them. As simple as that. So then, either they would de-escalate or they might escalate. If they escalate, leave that scene, go run away. If they de-escalate and go, great for you. So you were not being bluffed. So I hope this makes most of the doubts clear. So please do have some representing body, be it your medical defense, be it your medical association. This would help you. Any money that you pay them can be, asked by you can reclaim the, refund from the HMRC, the tax benefits that you can get from them. And why not, guys, because there's so much to the system, so much for us to learn, and every day, it's a different world. So, if you get these conditions, don't panic, have a thought. Don't try to escalate things. If you want to actually escalate, if there's a clinical error or something, please escalate to the consultant, escalate to your clinical supervisors, educational supervisors, well-being team. There's a medical legal team in the hospital. Go to them. If something like this happens outside the world, as I said, don't try to take matter in your own hands. Try to de-escalate the situation, but yeah, do have a chat with the legal representatives, because if this goes further, definitely, you had a plan, because you might forget this in some point of time. And if anyone comes and randomly says, oh, there's a medical negligence, you've done this, done that, don't fight, guys, don't fight. Just mention it in the records, mention it in the notes, and make sure you've escalated it to the best possible level. All right, guys, be good, and don't fall prey to such flashcards. Take care. Cheers. Bye.